The creature behind the shedet was raining hard. Thick, cold drops hit the ground, turning the dirt into mud. John stood by his kitchen window, sipping hot tea. He lived alone, far from the city, in a small wooden house surrounded by woods. It was quiet here, too quiet sometimes. Then he heard something, a sound, soft and strange, like a weak cry. It came from outside, near the back of his house. John put down his cup. He grabbed a flashlight and stepped onto the porch. The rain hit his face like tiny stones. He walked slowly, his boots sinking into the wet earth. The cry came again. He turned the corner of his house and moved toward the old shed. The wooden door creaked in the wind. He aimed the flashlight behind it, and then he froze. There, curled up in the mud, was a creature. She looked like a woman, but not human. Her skin was light purple, glowing faintly under the rain. Her arms were wrapped around something small. A child. The child looked up. Big black eyes filled with fear. It had small horns and thin arms. The woman, the mother, was bleeding from her side. Her breathing was slow and painful. John didn't move. He didn't even blink. The child made a soft noise. Not words, just a plea. Please, it whispered. That word, clear, in English. Then silence. John knelt slowly. He took off his jacket and held it out. I'm not here to hurt you, he said quietly. The mother lifted her head. Her eyes were full of pain and mistrust. She tried to shield the child more tightly. John didn't move closer. You'll die out here, he said. Come inside. The mother didn't answer, but her head dropped back. She was too weak. John gently placed the jacket over her. Then he reached for the child. The child flinched but didn't fight. He picked her up. She was light. Too light. Starving. He looked back at the woman. She needed help. Now. With a grunt, he bent down and lifted her too. Her skin was cold and soft like smooth stone. She groaned, but didn't resist. Inside the house, he laid them both on the couch near the fire. The child sat beside her mother, holding her hand tightly. John moved quickly. He brought towels, warm water, and a blanket. He started cleaning the blood. The mother didn't wake. Her wound was deep but not fresh. The child sat still, watching his every move. Silent. Careful. What's your name? John asked. No answer. He sighed and looked closely at the mother's face. She had strange markings on her skin. Not tattoos. Something else. Glowing lines. Almost like circuits. John shook his head. What the hell happened to you? The child finally spoke just one word. Safe? John looked into her eyes. So big. So scared. Yes, he said. You're safe here. The child slowly relaxed. She leaned her head on her mother's chest and closed her eyes. John sat down on the floor, staring at them. This wasn't just a strange animal. This was intelligent life. Aliens. Real ones. In his shed. He wanted to ask 1,000 questions. Where were they from? Why were they here? Were more coming? But none of that mattered now. They were hurt. Alone. And afraid. And somehow, they had come to him. Hours passed. The storm outside got worse. Thunder shook the windows and lightning lit up the room, but inside it was warm. The mother groaned softly. Her hand moved. John leaned closer. Her eyes opened, just a little. She saw him and tensed. Her lips moved. No. Take. Child. I'm not here to harm you. John whispered. You're safe. She looked confused. Her breathing was rough. She tried to speak again, but nothing came. Then her hand reached for the child, touched her gently, and fell. Back. She closed her eyes and didn't move again. The child opened her eyes. Will she die? She asked in a trembling voice. John swallowed hard. I'll do everything I can. I promise. The child looked down and whispered something in a strange language. Then she looked back at John and held out a small object, like a round stone with lights on it. He took it, unsure. Suddenly, it glowed. Symbols appeared on its surface. And a voice, female, robotic, spoke in English. Emergency beacon activated, scanning human DNA. John's heart stopped. What? The device glowed brighter. New guardian registered. John stared at the child. What did you just do? He asked. The child gave a small, tired smile. Family, she said softly. John sat back, stunned. He didn't know it yet, but his life had just changed forever. The child who watched everything. The night was quiet now, but inside the house, tension still floated in the air. John had moved the alien mother to the guest room. She was still unconscious, breathing slow but steady. He had cleaned her wounds again, wrapped them carefully, and tucked a blanket over her. The child sat silently on the wooden floor outside that room. She didn't cry. She didn't move. She just watched him. Her big black eyes followed every step, every breath. John brought her a bowl of warm soup. Here, he said gently, placing it on the table near her. Eat something. The child didn't speak. She looked at the steam rising from the bowl, then looked back at him. Her face was dirty. Her little arms were scratched. Yet her eyes were sharp, too sharp for someone so young. He sighed and sat on the couch, rubbing his tired face. You understand me, don't you? He asked. No reply. Just silence. He stood and walked into the kitchen. Behind him, he heard the sound of movement. Soft, careful. He turned. The child was at the table. She touched the bowl, sniffed it, then tasted the soup slowly. John gave a small smile. Good? The child didn't answer, but she ate more. Slowly, like someone who hadn't had food in days. John leaned against the wall and crossed his arms. What happened to you two? Why were you behind my shed? Still no reply. He noticed the strange round device again, resting near the couch where she had slept. He picked it up. The lights were dim now. Earlier, it had spoken. New guardian registered. John still didn't know what that meant, but one thing was clear. This child had chosen him. He turned the device over in his hand. There was no button, no screen. Just smooth metal with glowing lines. Suddenly it pulsed again. Soft blue light flickered. Then a projection came from it. A small shaky image hovered in the air. John stepped back. It was a memory. A ship falling through the sky. A woman. Her mother holding the child tightly, screaming. Fire, a crash, then darkness. The image faded. John looked at the child. She wasn't watching the projection. She was watching him, closely. He sat down on the floor beside her. That was your ship, he said. It crashed? The child gave the smallest nod. Were there others? She shook her head. All gone. John swallowed. You and your mother, the only ones who lived? A pause. Then another slow nod. He looked down. I'm sorry. They sat there for a while. The wind howled outside. Rain hit the windows like tiny pebbles. After the child pulled her knees to her chest and leaned against the wall. She kept glancing at the door to her mother's room. She'll wake up, John said softly. She's strong, like you. The child looked down, saying nothing. John reached into his drawer and brought out a small towel. He knelt beside her and gently wiped her face. She didn't resist. What's your name? He asked. The child hesitated, then whispered, Rhea. John smiled. Rhea, that's beautiful. He pointed to himself. I'm John. She nodded. John, safe? He nodded. Yes, very safe. She relaxed just a little. Just enough to close her eyes and rest her head against the wall. The next morning, John woke up to a quiet house. He checked the guest room. The alien woman was still unconscious, but her skin looked less pale now. The bandages were still in place. He stepped into the hallway. Rhea wasn't there. His heart jumped. Rhea, he called out. No answer. He rushed outside. The wet ground still smelled of rain. Then he saw small footprints going toward the woods. Rhea! He followed fast, heart pounding. Then he stopped. She was standing at the edge of the forest, staring at the sky. Above them, high in the air, a black object hovered. It wasn't a plane. It wasn't from Earth. A drone. Alien. It made no sound. John pulled Rhea close. We have to go. She looked up at him. They found us? John nodded. Maybe. But I won't let them take you. The drone blinked red. Suddenly, the device in John's pocket glowed. A voice came from it. Warning. Hostile zone detected. Guardian must protect subject. John's grip tightened on Rhea's hand. I will, he said. Then he turned back to the house, holding her close. Back inside, he locked the doors and closed the curtains. Rhea stood near her mother again, whispering soft words in her language. John picked up the strange device and stared at it. Guardian, huh? He muttered. He looked at Rhea. She was still watching him. Always watching. But this time, there was trust in her eyes. And maybe, just maybe, a little hope. Marked his enemy. The next night the wind was calm. The rain had stopped, but the ground was still wet and cold. Inside the house, John sat near the small fireplace, holding a warm mug. Rhea was asleep on the couch, curled under a thick blanket. Her breathing was soft, peaceful. The alien mother, still weak, lay quietly in the next room. She hadn't spoken again. But her pulse was stronger. Her skin no longer looked pale. She was healing, slowly. John's eyes drifted to the strange, silver device resting on the table. Ever since it scanned him and called him guardian, he had felt different, like he had been given a task, whether he liked it or not. He reached out and touched it. The device lit up. Blue at first. Then, red. Suddenly, the house lights flickered. A low hum began to rise. The sound didn't come from inside, but from above. John rushed to the window and peeked through the curtains. His heart skipped. A dark shape hovered in the sky, round, smooth, silent. It wasn't a human drone, and it wasn't flying by accident, it was searching. He turned around fast. Rhea, wake up! The girl opened her eyes, confused. Then her face froze. She felt it too. They're here, she whispered. How do you know? She pointed at her chest. They follow blood, my mother's blood. John didn't wait. He grabbed the device and shoved it into his backpack. Then he gently lifted Rhea into his arms. We're going to the basement, he said. Down the narrow stairs, he carried her into the old storm shelter. He had canned food, water, and blankets stored there. He placed her gently on the ground. Stay quiet. Don't make a sound, he whispered. Rhea nodded and hid behind some crates. John hurried back upstairs. He had to move the mother. He wrapped her in another blanket and lifted her in his arms. She stirred, groaning weakly. Shh. I've got you, John whispered. He made it down to the basement, breathing hard, and laid her beside Rhea. Then he turned off the lights. Total darkness. Only the hum of the alien machine above filled the silence. An hour passed. John sat against the wall, shotgun in hand, eyes open. He had locked every door, closed every window, but still, he could feel something wrong. A sharp beep came from the device. Then a robotic voice whispered, Unauthorized presence detected, marked as hostile. John stared at it. What did you just say? Rhea stood up slowly. It's not your fault. They see humans as danger. John's voice was low. Why? She didn't answer. Suddenly the walls of the basement shook. A loud noise boomed from above. They had landed. John stood up fast. They're coming. He looked at Rhea. Is there a way to stop them? Talk to them? She shook her head. No talk, only take, only destroy. Then she stepped forward and held his hand. You are marked now. John looked down. A glowing red symbol had appeared on the back of his hand. It hadn't been there before. What is this? He asked. Rhea whispered. They think you stole us upstairs. The front door creaked open. Heavy footsteps entered the house. Not boots, not shoes. Metal. Clicking. John took a deep breath. He aimed the shotgun at the basement stairs and waited. Rhea crawled beside her mother and covered her with her small body. Then something touched the basement door. A whirring sound. Metal cutting. They were burning through it. John's heart raced. Rhea, he said, if I tell you to run, you take your mother and go through the back tunnel. She nodded, eyes wide. Then, the door fell. A tall shadow stepped in. Its body was like armor, shiny, silver, smooth. Its face was a mask with glowing red eyes. In its hand was a weapon, long and sharp. The alien looked at John, then at Rhea, then back at John. It raised the weapon. John didn't think. He fired, boom. The creature was thrown back against the wall, sparks flying from its armor. John grabbed the device from his bag. I'm not your enemy, he shouted. The device glowed red, then blue. The robot paused. The voice spoke again. Guardian recognized. Override in process. Then, silence. The creature lowered its weapon. It stepped back slowly and disappeared. John collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. What just happened? He asked. Rhea smiled softly. You protected. Now, they must obey. He stared at her. Obey? She nodded. Only one who protects can lead. He didn't understand it yet, but something had changed. The red mark on his hand was still glowing, and in Rhea's eyes there was something new. Trust, and maybe something deeper. Hope. The chase in the woods night fell fast. The house was quiet. Too quiet. John stared at the basement door, still slightly open after the attack. The metal edges were burnt, the wood splintered. The creature had left. But for how long? He packed fast. Canned food, water, blankets, and the strange glowing device, all went into his backpack. The alien mother, still weak, lay wrapped in 2 thick blankets. Rhea sat beside her, holding her mother's hand. John knelt beside them. We're leaving. Now. Rhea nodded. They will return. John lifted the mother gently. Her skin was warm, her chest rising slowly. Rhea carried a small pouch of her own belongings, strange metal cubes, a glowing rock, and the food John had given her earlier. They left through the back of the basement, a hidden tunnel that led into the woods. The forest was dark. No moon, no stars. John's flashlight cut through the blackness. Tree branches scratched at his coat. The air was cold and wet. His boots sank in mud. Behind him, Rhea followed closely, one hand on her mother's blanket, the other gripping John's shirt. Then, crack. A branch snapped far behind them. John froze. He turned off the flashlight. Silence. Then, another snap. Closer. Rhea looked up. They follow us, John whispered. Then we run. He shifted the mother in his arms, gritted his teeth, and moved faster. The forest felt endless. Every tree looked the same. His heart pounded in his chest. Then they saw it. A cabin. Small, abandoned, half covered in moss. But it had 4 walls and a roof. They rushed inside. John locked the door and dropped to his knees, out of breath. He laid the mother on a dusty, old mattress in the corner. Rhea crawled beside her. John stood by the window, staring out. The woods were still again, but he didn't trust the stillness. Later that night, a strange growl echoed from the trees. Not human, not animal, something else. John grabbed his shotgun. He moved toward the door quietly. Rhea stood too. "Let me come." "No," he said. "Protect her." Rhea hesitated, then nodded. John stepped outside. The night air was colder now. His breath turned white in the air. He walked around the cabin, flashlight off, gun ready. Suddenly, movement. Something fast. He turned. A shape rushed toward him. He fired. Boom, a tree. Branch exploded, but the figure dodged. Another growl. Then the figure stepped into view. Tall, thin, pale, not armored like before. This one wore dark robes. Its eyes were gold and glowing. Its hands long, clawed. It looked at John and hissed, "You protect our enemy, human." John aimed again. "She's not my enemy." The creature tilted its head. "She is traitor. Her blood is cursed." John didn't blink. "She's a mother, that's all I see." The creature smiled darkly. "Then you die with her." It rushed forward. John fired. But it was fast. Too fast. The blast missed. The creature grabbed his arm and threw him against the cabin wall. Pain shot through his back. Inside, Rhea screamed. The creature turned toward the cabin. "No!" John shouted, crawling forward. The device in his pocket glowed red, then blue. A voice echoed in the air. "Guardian under attack. Defense protocol unlocked." Suddenly, blue light shot from the device, blinding. The creature screamed and stumbled back, covering its eyes. John stood, wincing. "You want her?" he growled. "You'll have to go through me." The light from the device grew brighter. The creature hissed once more and vanished into the trees, back inside. John slammed the door shut and dropped the device on the table. It was still glowing. Rhea rushed to him. "You're hurt." He smiled weakly. "I've had worse." The alien mother opened her eyes. For the first time, she spoke clearly. You stayed." John nodded. "Of course I did." She looked at Rhea, then at him. "Why?" John shrugged. "No one should face death alone, especially not a child, or her mother." She stared at him, surprised, confused, and grateful. Then she whispered something in her own language. Rhea translated softly. She says, "You are chosen." That night, the three of them sat around a fire. The mother's strength was returning. Rhea rested her head on John's arm, and, outside in the woods, more golden eyes blinked in the darkness, watching, waiting. But the man with the red mark, the new guardian, was ready. Mother's secret. Morning came slowly. The sun peeked through the broken wood panels of the old cabin. Warm light touched the floor. The fire had turned to ashes. Smoke still drifted from the last burned log. John sat near the door, shotgun in hand, eyes tired but alert. He hadn't slept all night. He couldn't. Not after the attack. Rhea was asleep again, curled up in a thick blanket. But her mother, she was awake now. She sat up slowly on the old mattress. Her wounds were healing, but her face still showed pain. Her glowing eyes watched John carefully. "Thank you," she said softly. John turned. "You can speak English. Now?" "Some." "Not perfect," she said with effort. Her voice was deep but gentle. John nodded. "You're welcome." She looked down at her hands, then at her child. "She is everything," the alien mother whispered. "I thought we lost everything, but Rhea, she lived, because of you." John didn't answer right away. Then he asked, "Why were they hunting you?" The mother was quiet. Too quiet. She stood with effort, walked to the window and stared out at the trees. Then she said, "Our kind does not allow weakness. No kindness, no love." John frowned. "What does that mean?" She touched her chest. I was a soldier, high rank. But I changed. She turned to face him. I was ordered to destroy a village. But there were children, crying, starving. I refused. Her voice cracked. They called me traitor. John looked at Rhea. And her? The mother's lips trembled. She is a mistake. To them. John stood slowly. Your child is not a mistake. She was born from love. But our kind, they don't believe in such things. They test for emotion. If you feel too much and they erase you. She sat back down, hands shaking. I ran. I stole a ship. I hid Rhea in a box to smuggle her out. They caught me. Shot down the ship, thought we died. John rubbed his face. So they're still searching? She nodded. They fear her. She has something different. Something they cannot control. Rhea stirred in her sleep as if hearing them. John asked carefully, what does she have? The mother looked at him with tearful eyes. A power, ancient, from a line long forgotten. She can touch minds, calm beasts, feel pain that is not hers. John whispered, she's an empath. The mother nodded. Yes, and they want to use her, or kill her. John clenched his fists. No one's touching her, he said. The mother stared at him. You would fight your own kind for us? He looked into her glowing eyes. I already did. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Then you must know the last part, she said slowly. John tilted his head. What part? She looked at the red glowing mark on his hand, the one the device had burned into his skin. That mark, it's a binding. John blinked. Binding. Yes. When Rhea named you guardian, it was not just words. He glanced down at the mark. It pulsed softly. The mother explained, in our old ways, guardians are chosen by heart, not by blood. The child's soul reached for yours, and you're accepted. John felt a chill. I'm linked to her? The mother nodded. If she dies, you will feel it. If you die, she will know. John sat down slowly. That's heavy. She trusts you more than anyone. Even me, the mother said. John looked at the sleeping child. She's special, he whispered, and she deserves more than running and hiding. The mother smiled weakly. You care for her like a father. John met her eyes. Maybe. I am one. Now, there was silence. Then the door rattled. Once. Twice. John stood fast, gun ready. The mother tensed. A voice outside, a deep one, spoke in a strange alien tongue. The mother's face went pale. They've found us, she whispered. John peered. Through the window, 3 figures stood in the trees, armored, tall, silent. One of them raised its hand and showed a glowing blue cube. The mother gasped. That's a hunter's beacon. They're calling others. John growled. Then we leave. Now. He rushed to pack. Blankets, food, water. The mother stood holding Rhea. We'll slow you. Down. John looked at her, firm. You're not slowing me down. You're why I'm going forward. He opened the back door. A cold wind rushed in. They stepped into the forest together. Behind them, the hunters watched. But John didn't look. Back. He held Rhea close, and the alien mother held his hand. The human who chose to fight. The forest was darker than ever. Thick fog rolled over the ground like silent smoke. John's breath came out in clouds as he ran through the trees. Rhea held tightly in his arms, her mother beside him, limping but determined. Behind them, the sound of metal feet crushed fallen leaves. They were being followed. The hunters were not hiding anymore. They were closing in. John's boots splashed through a shallow creek. Cold water soaked his socks, but he didn't stop. His eyes searched for a place, any place, to hide. Then he saw it. An old watchtower, broken and leaning, but still standing. This way, he shouted. They reached the tower just as a low growl echoed through the trees. John kicked open the wooden trapdoor. Up, now! Rhea climbed first. John helped the mother up next. She gasped with each step, but she didn't stop. John was the last one up. He closed the trapdoor and shoved an old metal bar across it. Then silence. They crouched in the dusty space. The wind whistled through broken boards. The tower swayed slightly, but it held. Rhea held onto John's arm, shaking. Her mother sat across, from him trying to catch her breath. They won't stop, she whispered. John nodded. Then neither will I. Below, the hunters arrived. Tall, armored, silent. One touched the ground where John's boot had left a print. Another sniffed the air. Then the tallest raised a strange weapon, a long, curved blade with glowing edges, and pointed to the tower. They had found them, inside. The device in John's pack lit up. The voice spoke again. Guardian presence surrounded. Protocol unlocked. Select mode, escape, or defend. John stared at the glowing words. His finger hovered over the display. He looked at Rhea, her wide eyes full of fear. Then he looked at her mother, who had already risked everything for her child. Defend, John whispered. The device beeped. Suddenly, a panel opened on the side. A hidden compartment inside was a weapon, not a gun, not a knife, something else. It looked like a glove, silver, glowing, alive. John slowly pulled it out and slipped it on. It clamped around his hand and forearm. A pulse shot through his body, hot, strange, strong. The red guardian mark on his hand burned brighter. The device spoke again. Combat link confirmed. Weapon activated. The glove formed sharp claws. Light ran through the veins of the metal. He felt power, real power. He stood, eyes hard. They want to fight? They've got one. The tower shook. The trapdoor burst open. A hunter climbed through, massive. Glowing eyes scanning the room. It raised its weapon. John stepped in front of Rhea and punched forward with the glove. Crack! A shockwave exploded from his fist. The hunter flew backward, crashing through the tower wall and landing hard in the dirt below. Two more climbed up next. The alien mother grabbed a broken wooden spear from the corner and stabbed one in the leg. John tackled the other, clawing at its armor with the glove. Sparks flew. The hunter struck back, slashing across his side. Pain burned, but John didn't stop. He slammed the glove into its chest. The armor cracked, and the hunter stopped moving. Blood ran down his arm. His shirt was torn, but he stood, breathing hard. The third hunter hesitated, then jumped down and vanished into the trees. The others were defeated, for now. Rhea crawled to him, crying, "You're hurt." He knelt, wiping her tears. "I'm okay." Her mother looked at him, stunned. "No human has ever done this. Not for us." John chuckled softly. "I'm not just human now, am I?" The mother stared at the glove. "That weapon is sacred. It chooses only those with courage." John looked at her. Then it chose right. That night, the three of them camped near a deep stream. John's side was wrapped in bandages. Rhea rested against him, tired but safe. Her mother sat close, watching the stars. "They won't stop coming," she said. John nodded. "Then we go to them." She blinked. "What do you mean?" He stared into the fire. "We stop running, we find their command, and we end it." Rhea looked up. "All of them?" John looked at her. "If we want to be free, yes." The mother's eyes filled with something strange, not fear, not sadness. Pride. "You are more than guardian," she whispered. "You are warrior now." John smiled. "No," he said. "I'm family. Family, at last." The stars above were no longer peaceful. John stood at the top of a hill, the night wind blowing through his torn jacket. Behind him, the alien mother and Rhea sat quietly, watching the sky. High above, a ship floated. Large, silver, silent. It was not a hunter's ship. This one came without weapons drawn. Its lights blinked in soft blue and green, as if it were breathing. John lowered the alien binoculars he'd borrowed from the last fallen hunter. His heart beat fast. "They're here," he said. The mother stood slowly, her eyes glowing under the moonlight. "Not to fight?" John shook his head. "No, they sent a signal. It's different." Rhea tugged his hand. "You're shaking." He smiled down at her. "Maybe I'm scared." "Why?" she asked. John knelt beside her. "Because sometimes it's hard to believe things are finally getting better." Minutes later, the ship landed in a nearby clearing. The air buzzed as it touched down gently, not shaking the ground like the hunters did. The ramp opened, and from the light stepped someone, ancient, a female alien elder. Her skin was silver gray with lines of light running along her arms. Her eyes glowed softly, not with power but with kindness. She walked with a staff made of crystal and bone. When she saw the mother, she stopped. A tear ran down the old alien's cheek. "Zirasha," she whispered. The mother's body trembled. "You know her?" John asked. "She is my old teacher," the mother said softly. The elder stepped closer. She touched the mother's face gently. "They said you were dead, that you betrayed us." "I chose love," the mother replied. "And that they hunted me," the elder nodded. "And still, you survived." She looked at Rhea next. The elder knelt slowly, placing a hand on the child's head. "She is the child of peace," she said, "born in fire and saved by a human." Then the elder looked at John. She bowed her head. "Guardian," John blinked. "You know about that?" "Yes," the elder said. "The device she gave you, it was old, forbidden, but it still works, and it chose you." John stepped forward. "I didn't ask for it." "No," the elder said. "But you earned it." She pointed behind her. "We are a small group, hidden. We believe in peace, in change. But we are few." She looked back at Rhea. "And she is the future." Rhea hid behind John's leg. "I don't want to leave him." The elder smiled. "You do not have to." John's eyes widened. "Wait. What?" "You are linked now," the elder said. "Your mark is forever. If you go, she goes. If she stays, so do you." The mother turned to him. "John, they are offering safety. A new world. But only if you come too." He stood there, silent, then looked at Rhea. She stared at him, eyes full of tears. "Are you my dad now?" she asked. John knelt and held her close. "I think I've been your dad for a while now," he whispered. She smiled. Later that night, as the wind howled through the trees one last time, John stood at the base of the ship's ramp. He turned back, looked at the earth one more time, the quiet forest, the stars above, the place where he had once lived, alone. Then Rhea grabbed his hand. "Let's go home," she said, and he smiled. Together, the three of them walked into the ship, a new world. The sky was purple, the trees were tall and glowing. Strange creatures flew like glowing fish in the air. John stood on a high balcony, watching Rhea play with other alien children. She laughed now. She ran. She wasn't afraid anymore. The mother, Zirasha, sat beside him. Her face was peaceful. "She's happy," she said. "She's safe," John replied. Zirasha looked at him. "And you? Do you regret anything?" He shook his head. "Not a thing." She placed a hand on his. "You saved us." He looked at the red mark on his hand. It still glowed. "No," he said. "We saved each other." Sometime later, Rhea ran to him, holding a glowing stone. "Look, Dad," she shouted. "I found a memory crystal." John smiled and knelt to her level. Let's save it, he said, so we never forget how far we've come. And as the sun set over a new world with peace in the air and family by his side, John finally understood. Sometimes you don't find family. Sometimes family finds you.